really took us a while. I mean, it was probably in the late 90s, early 2000s before we ever considered trying to even offer a heat pump, because it didn't seem like it was for our area as much as it was for Florida. But that has turned out to be quite not the case, and it's our number one selling method of heating pools right now.
Welcome to another edition of the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast. We appreciate all of your subscriptions, your comments below. And I'm John Watts along with Brad Cook. And Brad, tell us who we have here today.
Today we have Miss Priscilla Silva from TTI Fabrication, our preferred heat pump vendor. And we're just going to talk about heat pumps today.
All right.
Heat and cool pumps even.
I hear those are hot right now.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. So Priscilla, before we get started on exactly heat pumps, let's talk about Priscilla for a minute. Tell us kind of your 30 seconds or a minute on what got you to where you are now. So I guess you grew up and went to school and got your education and got a job, but I'm sure it's more interesting than what I might be describing it right now.
Yeah, actually. So my name is Priscilla. I work as a research and development director at TTI Fabrication since 2018. I hold a master's degree in mechanical engineering. I've been working in the HVAC field since 2015 with a strong focus on heat pump systems. My experience involves both testing and analyzing systems performance, things like refrigerant behavior, compressor efficiency, and how components like the evaporator, condenser, and expansion device interact. I've also worked on troubleshooting and optimizing systems, which gives me a practical understanding on how these units perform.
All right. Got it. So I'm pulling up my questions from yesterday, and this is one of those kind of why should I buy from you kind of questions, which I know you had that coming, but when I asked you that question yesterday, it was quite compelling. I was really glad to hear that answer. So let's go. Why should we buy a heat pump from TTI / Aloha Pools and Spas?
Well, first, TTI has been building heat pumps since 1986. That matters.
1986?
1986, exactly.
I wasn't even born in 1986.
No.
Yeah, I was born in 66, to be exact. Anyway.
So actually that matters because pool heat pumps are not just appliances, They're thermodynamic systems exposed to outdoor conditions like humidity, corrosion, and temperature swings. So we have decades of design iteration. It means the product is refined, not just experimental. And all our units are tested before leaving the production line. So the second thing is the warranty. Is one of the strongest in the market. We have 5 years on parts, 2 years on labor, and 3 years on the digital control panel. The third is service. We have a service department that can work directly with the homeowner and coordinate certified technicians when needed. And of course, on top of that, everything is manufactured in North America out of Montreal. That means all replaceable parts are available faster. We have a good quality control and shorter lead times compared to overseas production.
Right. And we talked about this yesterday, but the way they get their components, it's, a lot of things are made in China. Like we were talking about how, a lot of heat pumps and pool pumps with American labels on them are made overseas. And what I found interesting about TTI is that Some of their products are made overseas, and some of their products are made in Canada, and some of them in the United States, because what they do is they shop and find the best products for the best price and put it all together and assemble it there in Montreal and ship it. And we also talked about your service department yesterday. I'm going to have you guys to have, I guess, what would be a long overdue conversation with our service team as well, to show them how to walk through the warranty process, because in the in the heat of the season, we'll just do whatever we got to do to get a problem fixed. And I think sometimes we leave a little bit of warranty money on the table if something is wrong, and I think we always try to keep the consumer out of the processes of the warranty process as much as possible. So we're gonna walk through some of that together, but when I grew up and we were new in the pool business, the only type of way to heat your pool was a gas heater, and we were quite skeptical of heat pumps. And then then we learned about heat and cool pumps, and it really took us a while. I mean, it was probably in the late 90s, early 2000s before we ever considered trying to even offer a heat pump, because it didn't seem like it was for our area as much as it was for Florida. But that has turned out to be quite not the case, and it's our number one selling method of heating pools right now. Can you tell us a little bit about why that might be over a gas-fired heater?
Yes, of course. Actually, for example, for a heating cool heat pump, our units, they can work for heating and cooling the water. The temperature that you can choose is around 50 to 104 Fahrenheit for the water, right? With an ideal air temperature range between 45 Fahrenheit and 95 Fahrenheit. That's typically the safe limit for both comfort and equipment protection. So beyond that, the efficiency drops and system stress increase because the discharge temperature increases, the high pressure increase, and below that there is less heat available in the air. So in the systems, may either lose efficiency or shut down to protect yourself.
Right, and so you're taking heat from the air and transferring it to the pool.
Yeah, actually, that's it. Basically, a heat pump works like this. We transfer heat from the air because in the evaporator coil, it absorbs heat from the air and transfers it to the water pool.
And I think that if you could say it in one sentence or two words, it's cheaper. You know, it's cheaper to heat your pool with a heat pump more so than a heater. And a lot of our customers will turn their heat pump on in April and turn it off in October, because as opposed to the gas-fired heater where the people turned it on, you know, the age-old story. This was even back in the 90s. We didn't sell many gas-fired heaters. And I'm not knocking gas-fired heaters, but we didn't sell many gas-fired heaters because the people would be all excited. They would turn their heater on, and then they would quickly turn it off when they got their $800 gas bill back in the 90s even. And you know, that's just not the case with a heat pump. And we've had also some customers to say, yeah, but I want to heat my pool year round. And if they do, then a gas-fired heater is the only way to really do that. But it's just not very realistic, because I don't know about in Quebec or but it just anywhere in the United States, just about outside of Florida, if you're going to heat your pool, you're going to lose 5 or 6 inches of water a day to keep it up to swimming temperatures, just out of evaporation. So that, and I would think that's one of the things that makes it really appealing to consumers is the cost of it to begin with, and then the cost of the monthly cost is just not that much. Could you expand on what that might be like for somebody in our area? You know, kind of the area we cover, and I know that's kind of a curveball, but could take a scenario and run us through a scenario about what somebody might spend a month during a certain time frame.
Yeah, actually, one thing that we need to understand is the COP. The COP is the coefficient of performance. So this is the key for efficiency for every heat pump. So it means that for every unit of electrical energy consumed by the heat pump, it can deliver around 4 to 6 units of thermal energy under good conditions. So, for example, if we take a 130,000 BTUs heat pump that Aloha uses with a COP of around 6, that means for every 1 kilowatt of electricity, you get about 6 kilowatt of heat. So in practical terms, that might consume around 5 to 6 kilowatt while delivering full output. So let's say electricity costs around 13 cents per kilowatt hour in the US, for example. If we multiply 6 times 24 hours, it gives us around 145 kilowatt hour per day. And if you multiply it by 13 cents, it's gonna be around $18 to $19 per day. But this is the worst case scenario. Where
if it ran 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Where the heat pump will work 24 hours a day. But in reality, once the pool reaches the temperature, the systems will cycle. So typically, the cost might be more in the range of $8 to $15, depending on conditions, you know. Of course, that using a solar blanket can reduce heat loss by around 60%, which lowers operating costs too. And I'm sure that Aloha will have a solar blanket to offer.
Exactly. But also, if you think about it like what you're saying, that worst case scenario of $18 a day, that might be in April or May, but then in June, in July, and August, it's going to cut it dramatically down. And so your average is not going to be $18 a day. Your average over the season, it might not even be the 8 to 15 that you're talking about, depending on the season.
The season, exactly. So maybe in July, August, or September, the heat pump will run, for example, 4 hours a day or even less. Right,
but in the worst case scenario, the thing, if the thing ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month, that sounds like, if my math is correct, about $540 a month is the most that you could absolutely spend if it ran, but it's not very realistic for somebody to ever have to spend probably $200?
Yeah, exactly.
$200 a month, something like that. Yeah, and so that's I think the big reason that a lot of people, because we can talk one person into buying a heat pump, but then they talk 10 people into buying a heat pump because they've got the real life experience, and we're just the salespeople, and so the customers are the ones that really sell the heat pumps for us, because it's just kind of known at this point now that they're really inexpensive to keep your pool warm. But what about the 4th of July weekend, and the water is, you don't need to heat your pool. The water is 98 degrees, and everybody, the water is 98 degrees, and it's 99 degrees outside. So they want to get in the water to get refreshed. So what in the world, is there a solution out there for that?
Yeah, of course. So our hybrid and elite model have a heat and cool model. So the customer, for example, we can choose their ideal temperature, let's say 86 or 85 Fahrenheit.
86.
86 for you. Okay.
Yeah.
I prefer more like 89, actually. Yeah. It can vary from person to person.
So does my wife, actually.
Yeah.
Right? We have to fight about that a little bit.
Yeah, but since our heat and cool heat pump models offers an automatic mode, you can select your desired temperature and the unit will adjust accordingly, alternating between heating and cooling modes to keep a stable water temperature and ensure comfort. I have an example here to show you the control. Okay, so it's pretty easy to use. Actually, you just turn on like this, so you can see.
So you got an on button. Okay.
Yeah, the sun here. It means that the heat pump will work at heating mode right now. So to switch between modes, you can just touch once at this M key here. So now you are seeing the snowflake. Now the heat pump will work at cooling mode, and if you touch it again, it will switch to automatic mode. So let's say that me, for example, I want to put at 89 Fahrenheit, okay?
Right.
So if the water temperature is above 89, so the heat pump will turn on cooling mode. If it's below 89, the heat pump will turn on heating mode.
Nice. Kind of like
climate
control for your house, if you think about it. Like there's not most houses these days have a heat and a cool. And so whenever you walk into your house, you're comfortable. And so the heat and cool system is really popular for our customers because it's the same thing. You know, you know what the temperature is going to be like whenever you get into the pool. It's very common for when I had a gas heater and my kids were younger, it would the water would kind of get warm on its own. And all of a sudden in June, we'd have not the raspberry winter or the blackberry winter or whatever they call it, but it would be just a little bit of a cool snap. And the kids they're kind of bulletproof. They don't, get too cold to swim. So, but they're always wanting, Dad, get in the pool with us. And I would do it, but a little bit begrudgingly because it was just not quite as comfortable as it was, the night before or 2 nights ago. So this way just makes it where it's climate controlled. And that reminds me of something in my childhood I'll share with you. When I would swim all summer long until the nights started getting cold. And when the nights started getting, sometime around August, that there was enough cold nights that the water would start to just get a little bit colder and it was a little less appetizing. Now, in April, when we opened the pool, that same temperature was perfectly fine because I hadn't swam in several months. And as it got warmer, I got so used to it. And then when it started cooling off again, I was like, I'm out. So this takes that away and just makes the enjoyment a lot longer. And it really, for somebody spending this kind of money on that it takes to buy a pool, it seems like to me it's one of the most obvious choices just to make the pool experience that much nicer, especially the heat and cool.
So Priscilla, we've talked about the heating and the cooling and everything. What are some of the things that affect the efficiency of the heating and cooling that with the cost that we were talking about? What affects the efficiency? Like the humidity, does that affect it? Those kind of things.
Yeah, actually, the heat pump efficiency is highly dependent on environmental conditions. So like the air temperature, humidity, the shade. So the most important, the biggest factor is the air temperature. Warmer air contains more thermal energy, making it easy for the evaporator coil to extract heat. Okay. The other factor is humidity. Is also plays a big role. Higher humidity improves heat transfer because moist air carries more energy than dry air. And here there is a big point to talk. We cannot forget about it. That is the condensation. So the heat pump removes heat from the air and transfers it to the water. We already know that. And when this happens, the hot, humid air passes through the evaporator coil, decreasing its temperature in the process. So this causes the humidity in the air to condense into liquid, So what we see is condensation water, not water leaking from the pool. So an easy test to do is to turn off the heat pump, for example, and let the water pump working and check after a few minutes if there is still water leaking. So if not, is just the condensation for the heat pump working, actually.
So I wasn't listening to that. I didn't hear what you said because I have another question. My heat pump is heating. I'm not losing water out of my pool, but my heat pump heat is leaking rather. So tell me what's wrong.
Actually, if there is no leak for the pool, it's condensation.
We get that question so much, and it's really on us because we didn't do a good job of explaining it to the customer, or we explained it to the customer during our pool orientation, but they were drinking from the proverbial fire hose. They got so much information coming at them that they didn't remember that. So that's a very commonly asked question is like, my heat pump is leaking. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And that kind of means it's working.
Yeah, no, but it's just condensation. This is pretty normal. So let's get back to the factors that can change the efficiency of the heat pump. So another factor is the wind. So the wind increases evaporation from the pool surface, which is the largest source of heat loss. Even a light breeze can increase, the energy consumption. Another factor is shade, because shade reduces solar gain. Direct sunlight naturally hits the pool, so a shaded pool requires more work from the heat pump, And the solar blanket is probably the most important control factor. It can reduce evaporation and heat loss. So
the solar blanket seals the heat and keeps it from evaporating.
Exactly.
But did I understand you to say that if the heat pump is sitting out in the sun, that it will actually be more efficient, just as if the pool is sitting out in the sun, it will heat faster as well? Is that
on the sun it will heat faster, of course.
Well, Priscilla, I want to put my heat pump inside in a pool house. Can I do that?
It's not recommended because we call it like a microclimate, So if you do this, actually the cold air that goes out of the unit will return back to the evaporator coil. So the COP will drop.
That is another commonly asked question. Or worse, that the customer will call us after building a pool house and around their heat pump, and it goes back to us. What we should have probably done is said, do not do this. But in some cases, nobody talks about it, and it just we're going to set it outside right here, and then all of a sudden the customer comes to us and said, my heat pump's not heating. When we get out to the job, the heat pump is inside. And so
this is someone that built a pool outside and then later enclosed it?
Yeah, and they didn't tell us their plans. They just did it. And so it didn't occur to us for us to say, you don't need to build a structure around this because this is how it works, because we just assumed that we didn't need to tell them that. So this is good information.
So even if you had an inside pool, you would want the heat pump outside.
Heat pump has to stay outside. And I've got a customer right now that did a 3-sided enclosure with it's open on one side, and I'm telling him the absolute best thing that we could do is move it outside. And it was a case, just a perfect case for this, that we show up to his house and he's built it around it, and he was actually having some success. But early in the spring, he's not, because his heat pump is freezing up. And we are going to try a large fan that pulls air from the open side and pushes it out the back in an attempt to get the temperature regulated in there, so to get some of that cold air out. Because when you fire up a heat pump, if you want to know one way if it's heating, put your hand over the top, and if it feels like an air conditioner, that is the process. Would you say that's correct, Priscilla?
Yeah.
That's the cool air that it's pulling out.
And the reverse, like you walk. Yeah. If you ever walk behind a window air conditioner and you feel the
hot.
heat.
Yeah,
it's the same process reversed.
So theoretically, if the fan doesn't work, you could get a smaller heat pump to put it on the outside of the bigger. It heat pumps all the way down.
Right.
I'm just making jokes.
To infinity. Yeah. I told him earlier that his American humor might not translate. and vice versa. So we've covered we've covered a lot of ground here. What if anything else would a consumer find interesting, or what might they need to know about whether or not to get a heat pump, or some things that they might need to be prepared for a heat pump?
I think that they need to understand that the heat pump is the better option right now, so it can really decrease the cost to heat a pool. And actually, we have a lot of new technology. Right now, this control offers a Wi-Fi application, so the customer he can use or control his pool heat pump from nowhere. So actually, this is really nice.
So it's Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or both?
Yeah, it's Wi-Fi.
Okay, so from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're coming back from vacation.
Yeah.
Sitting on a plane.
You can turn on your heat pump pool, and actually
check the temperature. They can check the temperature of the pool.
Turn on in heating mode, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, and so I just learned something. A lot of these questions I've asked, I kind of know the answers to, but that one, that's good. I like that. And so is that included with the newer models?
Yeah.
That we're selling currently? Gosh, we've got to get you guys in a sales meeting, because I didn't know that was a thing. Well, I learned something, didn't I?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we hope I did anyway. And so John is going to all of the data that you were talking about and the energy. John is going to repeat that back, because I know he was understanding all of that technical stuff that you were just saying. Go ahead, John.
Oh yeah, no, I have no no clue. I'm new to the industry anyway, so I'm learning from all of this.
Yeah, it is an educational thing for me, because some of the things that she's saying, I've kind of heard it before, and I'll hear something and I think, okay, she knows what she's talking about. I don't really want to know that. I just want to know that it works really well, and I know that the product does work really well. And I just wanted to thank you guys for allowing us to talk to you and get the word out about how heat pumps work, some things to expect from them, what you expect to pay for a heat pump. And of course, we didn't cover that, but I can say heat pumps probably range in price from $3,000 to $8,000, depending on the manufacturer. But I know that we're able to offer the TTI heat pumps at a very extremely affordable price, and that we sure move a lot of them, and we appreciate the relationship that we've had with you guys for the last few years. And checks in the mail. I promise you, I'll get you paid eventually. Just know that. I know Randy, our rep, is listening. She'll call me and say, I need to send you another load of heat pumps, but I need you to pay me first. And I say, okay, but this one's going to be late too. I know she likes that. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I guess we'll let John close us out here. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us for another edition of the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast, where we close every show by saying, dive safely.
That's it.
And au revoir.